Ellie.
And Jesse. And this is Design for Adventure.
We're a married couple figuring out family travel, Disney trips, running races, parenting,
and how to make adventures actually work in real life.
Yes, we travel with our kids.
And still manage to have a good time.
And if you love making memories and want an adventure that fits real life, you're in the right place.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Design for Adventure, episode number 1. Thank you all for listening. We wanted to take this first episode just to introduce our podcast and introduce ourselves as well. So with that being said, take it from here, Ellie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ellie. A little bit about myself. I'm from Toledo, Ohio. That's where I grew up. I was born in Florida, but I moved up to Ohio when I was about 5. Growing up, my family always would take about one or two big trips a year. We would always do like a week-long trip during the summer, and then we always would travel to visit our family, which lived in other parts of Ohio. So got really used to traveling as a young kid. And then as I got older, I started playing travel soccer. So that definitely included a lot of traveling all over the country to play soccer, go to tournaments. And then as I got into college, my mom was encouraging me to run. And so one way to get me to run with her was she would pay for me to travel. So she would say, if you run this half marathon, I will pay for you to go to Las Vegas with us, or I'll pay for you to go to Disney. And it's just kept going. And I've kept that mentality, I guess, as I got older. I'm actually in the military. That's one of the reasons I joined, is because I really wanted to travel. I didn't want to be in one city, one area. I joined the military, and that has definitely allowed me to travel, living in several different states, cities, just seeing different parts of the country. It's been awesome, and it's actually how we met.
Yeah, so I can get into that too. I'll tell a little bit about my background. I am from the great state of Missouri. Lived there my entire life until I left for college. And then after my freshman year of college, I realized that I really enjoyed having my freedom. And to kind of backtrack a little bit, my family was similar to Ellie's in that we would take a big summer trip every summer. And one time it was the summer before my freshman year of high school, we took a trip to Alaska, and we were riding a train from Anchorage up to Denali. And we got to talking to the lady who was, I guess, serving us our lunch or whatever. And she said that she found that job on a website called coolworks.com. And for some reason, that always stuck with me. So fast forward 4 years, and like I said, I really enjoyed having my freedom in college. I checked out that coolworks.com website and found that it was still in existence and still offered a lot of jobs at national parks and other cool places all over the country. So I applied to several different jobs, and I ended up at the world-famous Wall Drug Store in Wall, South Dakota, and just had an awesome summer working there, and enjoyed it so much that I went back the following summer too. After I graduated from college, I really liked kind of traveling around like that and working seasonal jobs in cool places, so I ended up spending a summer and a fall at Acadia National Park in Bar Harbor, or outside of Bar Harbor, Maine, and also my last one, I worked in employee recreation at Yellowstone National Park. So I got to take all the employees like on whitewater rafting trips and on hikes and organize like softball leagues and basketball leagues and stuff like that. And that was really fun. But the real world was calling, and by then I had my teaching certification, so I ended up back in South Dakota, where I had initially gotten my certification through Black Hills State University, and I was teaching in Rapid City. And Ellie just happened to get stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base, which is just outside of Rapid City. Lo and behold, we both became members of the Black Hills Runners Club. And one day we both showed up to the same running club event at Hay Camp Brewery, and that's how we met.
The rest is history. I think one of the things too that drew us to each other was our love of traveling, of going places. Right after we had met, I was driving up to Idaho to visit my brother for a long weekend, and you were going down to New Mexico with your mom for a trip. And I think just that mentality of me being in the military and moving, you liking to move and okay with that, and exploring new cities was a big draw for us.
Yes, and having a mutual goal of wanting to run a race in all 50 states.
Such a huge reason that we do travel a lot is because we're still trying to reach that goal. And it's a fun way to explore a new state whenever we do one of those kind of trips.
I mean, you mentioned a fun way to explore. I think just the fact that we move every 2 or 3 years, and that gives us a fun way to explore each state that we're in, a little bit at a time. I really enjoy that. We don't have to take big trips every year, but I really enjoy all the small, like weekend trips that we take, just exploring our surroundings.
We still take our big trips.
Absolutely.
Don't get us wrong. We have still taken our cross country road trips a few times, sometimes by choice, sometimes because the military forces us to. But we do enjoy a big trip, but we do enjoy the little weekend trips as well.
But all this traveling is a good segue into why we started this podcast, because we wanted to talk about how you can do all these trips and take your kids to and still manage to have a good time. It doesn't have to always be completely stressful, with the young ones. So we wanted to talk about,
The young ones.
aren't they young? I'm an old soul.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, I mean, it can certainly be intimidating taking a long trip with kids. And our first experience with that was our oldest kid. He was 6 months old when some of our good friends were getting married in South Dakota, and we were in Tennessee at this point. So we took a big road trip out to there. And we'll cover that in more depth on a future episode because that was quite an experience.
So one of the things we want to talk about is why we started this podcast. A big one is we kind of wanted to spend some more time together. Most of you know, if you have kids, spending time with your spouse without them around can be difficult. And you don't need a babysitter. This is just one way we could get together and talk a little bit, which is kind of fun. And the other reason is because we do love traveling and because we've chosen to travel with our kids a lot, but also because we've sort of been forced to. I think we've learned a lot about just traveling and not just, what toys should we take, but just also how do you plan? Where do you go? How do you still make it fun for you, like as the adult, but also for the kids? And there's a lot of balance there.
Yeah, because I see a lot of my friends that have young kids, and they don't go hardly anywhere at all. It's like they're almost afraid to. So we wanted to have that dynamic here of how you can travel with kids and can still have a good time.
The first trip's always going to be intimidating. It truly was intimidating, the first big trip we did. Because we had done a few weekend trips with our son when he was young, like 6 months old or 6 weeks old. We went to Florida.
Yeah.
But it was a 4-hour drive. Not crazy.
But then he's 6 months old, and we're driving from Tennessee to South Dakota, and that was crazy.
Yes.
It's a long drive.
That was an epic road trip we decided to do because we decided to see both sets of parents on our way out there from Tennessee to South Dakota. So we went by way of going through Kentucky, then over through Indiana, Illinois, to Missouri, and then stayed there, then kept going. How many states did we hit on that trip? 13?
Yeah, we had to go through and count because we ended up in the Wyoming too at Devil's Tower.
So we really tested ourselves on that one. But we learned a lot. And I think once you took that big trip and that you can do it, we're like, we can keep doing this. This isn't, yes, there was some planning and we learned some lessons, but it's like, oh, we learned that now. Let's do this again.
Yep, so we have continued taking road trips. That's our preferred method of traveling with our kids.
We have flown.
Yeah.
It's a whole different beast than flying. There's two different mindsets I do believe you have to have with that. But yep, we have flown.
Yeah, so that was kind of our goal with this, is to help other parents who might be nervous or afraid or have questions about these issues when about traveling and parenting at the same time. So, I mean, we are certainly still learning too. We're not experts by any means, but I think, experience is the best teacher. So we have a lot of insight that we could give to those of you who maybe are hesitant to take that big trip.
And we are not experts by any means. I don't know if anyone can ever be an expert at traveling because every kid is different. Age is a play in fact. If you have a boy versus a girl, we have found with our children, there's a huge difference between our oldest who's a boy and our youngest who's a girl, and just what entertains them. We're not experts, but we do think there are questions I had when we were first planning, and I'm hoping we can answer those types of questions for anyone else who's looking to try and get out there and stop being stuck inside their house. Parenting is just as hard in the car or in a hotel than it is at your home.
Yeah, there's really not much of a difference. So you might as well go out and enjoy that trip.
At least you can look at something pretty while you're yelling at your child.
Yeah. We chose the name Design for Adventure because, traveling with young kids is just that, adventurous.
There's more to it than just planning and a schedule. You have to design the trip around what you want out of it.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to capture that as well. Because yes, the planning creates the freedom. It really can reduce headaches and can prepare you for everything that's going to go wrong. But you really want to design it. So you don't have to do everything. And I think that's one of the other things when you're looking at your trip. I struggle with this, especially with like Disney, but even places we're going, if we're trying to Acadia National Park, for example, when we went there, there's so much to do and you want to do it all, especially if you know you may not ever get back to that location. You're not going to get back there for a very long time. So understanding what is the goal of this trip? What are you trying to get out of it? And then having to know you're going to have to pick and choose and being prepared for that.
And not let it be too stressful. I mean, vacations are supposed to be relaxing, so try to take a step back and just make sure you schedule some time to just chill out and relax too.
And remember, it's your vacation as well as an adult. So make sure you're doing stuff for your kids, but you're also doing stuff for yourself too. If you really want to do something, do it. Figure out a way to make it happen.
Yep, so I think, I guess that kind of is the gist of what we plan to cover in this podcast. You want to talk about Disney trips because you're really big into Disney.
I do love Disney, so we are going to have a couple episodes where I talk about Disney, Run Disney events, because I do enjoy those Run Disney ones. It'll probably just be me on those because Jesse has no interest in Disney whatsoever.
Couldn't care less.
But we're also going to talk about racecations. So, if you're traveling to a certain area, how do you fit the race in there? Especially if you have kids, so you have to deal with who's running, who's not running, strollers, all of that.
And we're going to talk about Civil War battlefields. I'm a big Civil War buff, and our 5-year-old seems to be trending that way also. So now that we live in kind of West Central Virginia, we are close to a lot of big battlefields, and I love taking the kids to visit them.
We'll also talk about family trips with or without kids. So sometimes taking that trip without your kids is just as important as taking them with it. You have to recharge yourself. I kind of love a solo trip when I leave the kids and the husband behind.
Oh, I love those solo trips too.
And we'll talk about the mom guilt and the dad guilt, because I know you had some too.
That happens as well.
And we're also going to talk about some of the background stuff that maybe isn't as glamorous, like budgets, money. How do you, the trade-offs, what are you willing to pay for? What are you not willing to pay for?
Yeah, we'll talk about how we like to travel with the kids. I mean, we don't use any technology at all. No iPads, no tablets, no DVD players in the car. Just, toys and games. I mean, like handheld games and their imagination. And then I guess I should have mentioned earlier, I was a special education teacher for 9.25 years. And then I'm sure we'll do a podcast about this, but the situation came to be where I needed to stay home with our oldest at that point. He was an only child. So I became a stay-at-home dad. So now I really enjoy taking the kids on day trips to like museums, and I'm a big Civil War buff. So I enjoy taking the kids when we live in Virginia. So we're close to a bunch of Civil War battlefields. So we go out when the weather's nice to battlefields all the time. And I'm just a big history buff in general. So just soaking up all the history in this awesome area that we live in.
And also talk about how do you make that history accessible to children?
Yes.
Because sometimes going to a museum, it's hard for kids and sometimes even adults to understand what they're looking at and to being able to connect the history in a way that children can also enjoy it. So this podcast is really for the families who still want to travel and leave their house, but maybe they're a little nervous and afraid to.
Yep, hopefully we can impart some wisdom and advice to make you feel a little more comfortable doing that and give you the impetus to set off and try something new.
And we're real parents, real jobs, real kids who throw tantrums, have fits, love chicken nuggets one day and hate them the next. We've been there. So hopefully this is realistic on how to approach some of these trips. And this isn't our full time to travel. This is something we just do because we love to do it in the spare time when we can.
So with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you listen to and enjoy future episodes as well.
Hopefully these episodes will help you decide to take the trip or not, sign up for the race, or, plan that experience you've been thinking about for a while.
It'll be totally worth it.
Thanks so much for listening to Design for Adventure.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following the show and leave a quick review. It really helps more families find us.
You can also find us on Instagram at Design for Adventure Pod and Facebook at Design for Adventure.
Until next time, don't be afraid to get out there and have an adventure.